for friends on a simple road trip, decided to take a detour. There were no signs, no cell signal, just a gravel path that wasn't on any map. They thought it would be quicker, but what they found was a place that doesn't exist on GPS, a place that follows you back. One by one, they vanished, and the last one, he went back to face whatever was waiting in that forest. Put on your headphones, turn off the lights. This is The Detour, and it's based on a true story too terrifying to forget. You're watching The Night Files, and tonight, something is watching you back. I've always loved road trips. The feeling of being cut off from your routine. Your phone barely clinging to one bar of signal. The open road in front of you with no real destination except away. I'm not so fond of them anymore. Not after what happened last summer. It was me, Dan, Kyle, and Manny, 4 college buddies who had just wrapped up our senior year. A road trip was supposed to be our send-off. Before we all split up for grad, school or jobs, we mapped out a loose plan. Start in North Carolina, drive through the Blue Ridge Parkway, maybe camp a night or two, then loop around toward Kentucky before heading back home. The weather was perfect when we started. Windows down, music up, car full of junk food, and that giddy energy only a long drive can give you. On the third day, somewhere between Asheville and a no-name gas station about 30 miles off the main highway, we got caught in a detour. There was a sign that read, "Road closed ahead. Take Alt Route 19B." Google Maps didn't show any Route 19B. Waze didn't either, but we figured it was one of those local detours. The sign looked official. Reflective paint, orange cones. Someone had clearly set it up recently. We turned onto the side road. Gravel. Narrow. It immediately felt off. The moment we turned, it was like the world quieted. The highway sounds vanished. The thick trees on either side of the gravel road seemed to lean in just a little more with every mile. The air changed. Cooler, almost damp. "Dude," Manny said from the back seat. "Did it just get darker?" It had. "Trees, man," Dan said from the passenger seat. "They blocked the sun. Nothing to freak about." I wasn't so sure. I drove on, gripping the wheel tighter as the gravel crunched under us. 5 miles in, we passed a rusted-out car on the side of the road. A faded red Toyota, probably from the 90s. Its windows fogged with grime, a flat tire. The trunk slightly popped open. "Want to stop?" I asked. "Nope," Kyle muttered. That's how horror movies start. We all laughed, but it was uneasy. Around mile 10, we saw him, just standing there. A man, maybe in his 50s, wearing a green flannel, jeans, and a baseball cap, stood completely still about 10 feet into the trees, facing the road. He didn't wave. He didn't move. He just stared. "See that?" I said. "Yeah," Dan replied, leaning forward. That guy didn't even blink. I slowed down instinctively. Kyle tapped my shoulder. "Nope. No way. Don't stop." I wasn't going to. We passed him. I looked into the side mirror. He had turned. He was now facing the rear of the car, watching us drive away. After that, we all tried checking our phones. 0 bars. No data. No GPS. Not even the emergency SOS worked. The road twisted more aggressively the farther we went in. How long is this detour supposed to be? Many asked. No one answered, because none of us knew. There weren't any signs anymore. The last thing we saw that gave us any sense of direction was a broken wooden marker nailed to a post. It read, Old Wren's Hollow, 6 miles. Dan squinted at it. Where the hell is Wren's Hollow? I've never heard of it, I said. That's when the road forked. There was no sign this time, just a left and a right. Both looked identical, gravel and trees. I stopped the car. The silence was deafening. No wind, no birds, just the tick-tick of our engine cooling as I turned it off. We flip a coin, Carl said, trying to sound lighthearted. His voice cracked. Before we could decide, we heard a thud. All of us jumped. I whipped my head upward. Another thump. Something's on the car, Manny whispered. I turned the ignition and floored it without looking. Gravel sprayed behind us. We picked the left path. For a moment, something scraped across the roof like claws dragging metal. Then silence again. No one said a word for the next 2 miles. Finally, we saw something ahead, a wooden structure. Maybe a cabin or ranger station. It looked old but intact. Reluctantly, I slowed down and parked in front of it. Dan and Kyle got out first. I stayed in the car with Manny. There was no sign, no mailbox, no number. The door creaked as Dan pushed it open. Inside, dust floated in thick beams of sunlight that snuck through the wooden slats. Maps were pinned on one wall, yellowed and curled. A lantern sat on a wooden desk next to a rusted walkie-talkie. No power, no reception. But there was something useful, an old paper map. Dan spread it open. Kyle pointed. That's us. See, Wren's Hollow. It's marked. Looks like if we follow this same road another 10 miles. It reconnects with Route 80. 10 miles, Manny muttered. We can handle that. I wasn't so sure. Just then, Dan froze. Guys, this map. It's marked in pencil. Today's date. And a red X. Right over this cabin. The red X on the map wasn't huge. It was faint, drawn in pencil, but unmistakable. Right over the little square that represented the cabin we were standing in. No way, Kyle said. That can't be today's date. Dan held it up. It says June 4th, 2024. That's today. My stomach twisted. Why the hell would someone mark a cabin with today's date and an X? Manny asked from the doorway. Maybe it's a ranger's log, I offered. You know, like a patrol schedule? Then where's the ranger? Kyle snapped. And why is this place abandoned? I couldn't answer. None of us could. Outside, the wind had started to pick up. The trees swayed, slow at first, then harder. The sound they made wasn't quite a rustle. It was deeper, like groaning, almost like voices, low and murmuring. I stepped back out. The gravel crunched under my shoes louder than it should have. My ears were ringing faintly. I looked at the car. Scratches. Thin, deep ones across the roof. Guys, I called. Something was on the car. Then we heard footsteps, actual human ones, approaching from the woods. We all turned. A man in a long brown coat was walking up the road, slowly. He looked to be in his 60s, with leathery skin and a slight limp. In his hand, he carried a walking stick. His eyes never left us. Afternoon, he said with a slight southern drawl. Dan stepped forward. Hey, we're a little lost. Took a detour and ended up here. The man tilted his head. No such detour around these parts. We all went quiet. I seen your car pass an hour ago, he continued. You ain't the first to come down this way lately. What do you mean? I asked, heart now pounding. He didn't answer right away. Just looked up at the sky, then back at us. You best be moving on, he said, before it gets dark. Wait, Kyle said, stepping forward. Do you live out here? Do you have a phone? Radio? Anything? The man just stared. Dan held up the map. Do you know this place? Wren's Hollow. The man's expression changed slightly, a twitch in his cheek, a narrowing of the eyes. No one calls it that anymore, he said. Locals renamed it long ago. What's it called now? Many asked. He paused. Whisper Hollow. Whisper. I repeated. He nodded. Named for what you hear when you're alone at night. Ain't no animals in those woods anymore. Just things that whisper. A silence fell between us. Then he stepped forward and whispered something I'll never forget. They already know you're here. He turned and walked off the road into the trees without another word. No flashlight. No bag. Just vanished into the green. Dan broke the silence. Screw this. We follow the road. 10 more miles, right? Let's go. We all agreed. I fired up the car again. As we drove away from the cabin, I looked in the mirror. The man was gone. No trace. No movement. Just the thick, oppressive trees closing in behind us again. It got darker faster than it should have. Within an hour, it looked like late evening, though our watches said it was only 3:30 p.m. The GPS was still dead. Phones wouldn't turn on, even though we all had battery left. Manny leaned forward. Guys, I think we're looping. What? I asked. He pointed. We passed that tree before. Look, it has that weird knot in the middle like a skull. He was right. We had passed it. Carl started freaking out in the back. No. This is Blair Witch shit. We've been driving straight. Dan checked the map again. We should have been out of here by now. This doesn't make sense. Then, from behind us, a horn. A long, low blast. I hit the brakes. Looked in the mirror. There was a truck on the road. Headlights off. Huge. Dark red. Just sitting there, engine idling. No one visible in the cab. Where the hell did that come from? I whispered. We hadn't passed it. We hadn't heard it approach. It was just there. I rolled forward slowly. The truck didn't move. We drove for another half mile, glancing back. Then it was gone. No turn off. No engine sounds. Just vanished. Manny whispered, I want out. Now. Dan agreed. Next time we see any building or sign of life, we stop. I wish we hadn't. About 20 minutes later, the road opened into a small clearing with a barn. It was old, paint peeling, roof half collapsed, but there was a light inside. A single hanging bulb flickering behind one window. I parked. Someone has power here. Maybe a landline. We got out, leaving the car running. The air smelled wrong, like copper and wet wood. The kind of smell you get after something's been rotting in a basement. Dan pushed the barn door open. It creaked, and inside, the walls were covered in drawings. Hundreds of charcoal sketches, nailed, stapled, pasted across every surface. They were all of the same thing. A tall, gaunt figure with deer antlers and a mouth stretched into a long, gaping grin. Eyes hollow. Its arms too long. Its fingers touching the floor. Some showed it in trees. Some crouching behind houses. Some staring directly out at the viewer. And in red ink, scrawled on the largest drawing, IT follows those who take the detour. A soft knock. From inside the barn. Behind a stack of hay. Kyle turned, flashlight aimed. Who's there? The hay shifted. A whisper. Raspy, deep, not human. Too late. Dan screamed. Run. We bolted for the car. As we did, something huge moved inside the barn. We didn't look back. Gravel flew as I floored it down the road. For the next mile, something ran alongside us in the trees. We couldn't see it clearly, just movement. Fast, long-limbed. It never broke the tree line, but it kept pace even as I hit 60. Manny sobbed in the back. "We're gonna die out here." And that's when we saw it. A light. Actual headlights. A road up ahead. I didn't care if it was another illusion. I drove straight toward it. We broke through the tree line and suddenly hit paved road. Paved. Yellow lines. A street sign. We had made it. Behind us, nothing. No gravel road. Just solid forest. No barn. No detour sign. No Whisper Hollow. We drove straight to the nearest gas station 15 miles down and stayed there until sunrise. When we asked the clerk about Wren's Hollow, she frowned. "That place ain't on any map," she said. "Haven't heard that name in years." We spent that entire night at the gas station. Didn't sleep. Didn't eat. Just sat in the fluorescent lighting while some old country music crackled on the radio, and the attendant gave us weird looks. None of us said anything about what happened until the sun came up. We thought it was over. Whatever we'd driven through, a hallucination, a nightmare, some twisted backwoods trap, it was behind us now. But I was wrong, because that was only the beginning. 2 days after we got home, Manny stopped responding in the group chat. At first, we figured he just needed space. Not everyone processes fear the same way. But then his girlfriend called me. "Something's wrong with him," she said. "He's quiet. Just stares at the walls. Says someone's standing outside his window at night." I drove over. Manny's apartment was trashed. Dishes piled up. Curtains all torn down. Every mirror in the house shattered and covered with bed sheets. And in his bedroom, the walls were covered in drawings. The same kind we saw in the barn. The same long-limbed creature. The same twisted grin. Antlers. Hollow eyes. Some of them were drawn in pen. Others in something red. A week later, Dan's car went off a bridge. Police said he lost control during heavy fog. No alcohol. No drugs. No skid marks. But the weirdest part? He wasn't in the car when they found it. The windshield was broken from the inside. His blood was there, but no body. They never found him. After Dan's accident, Kyle texted me once. Just a single message. "It's not over. We brought it back with us." I tried calling. No answer. His apartment was empty. Rent unpaid. Landlord said he just vanished. No forwarding address. I kept telling myself I was imagining things. That stress was making me paranoid. But then the whispers started. At first at night, soft, almost like wind. Then I'd hear them in the daytime. While driving. In the shower. In crowded places. And then I saw it. Once, on my apartment's security cam footage. I was reviewing it because I thought someone had tried breaking in. And at exactly 3:17 a.m., the same time the knocking started in that barn, I saw it. Standing at the edge of my driveway. Tall. Still. Antlers stretching toward the power lines. Watching. And the worst part? The camera glitched. Only for that frame. The timestamp flickered, then went dark for 10 full seconds. When it came back, the figure was gone. I couldn't live like that anymore. So I decided to go back. Call it insane. Call it suicidal. But something inside me said the only way to stop it was to return. I mapped out everything we remembered. Cross-referenced the cabin, the barn, Wren's Hollow, and then I drove. Alone. Back into the Appalachian backroads. No GPS. No phone. Just the printed map from the cabin. The one with the red X. It took me a full day, but eventually I found the gravel road again. No signs this time. Just like before. I drove for hours. Past the twisted trees. The rotten air. I passed the skull-knotted tree. I passed the cabin. I even found the barn again. But now it was collapsed. Burned. Half covered in moss and vines. The sketches were gone. And I felt it. The thing watching me. Closer now. The whispers turned into words. Actual words. You don't leave. You brought it back. Now you stay. I kept driving. But the road never ended. I looped it 3 times. And then, my engine died. That was 6 nights ago. I'm writing this from a notebook I found in the ranger cabin. My phone hasn't worked in days. No one drives past. I haven't eaten. I haven't slept more than an hour without waking to footsteps. Right outside the door. I don't know what this thing is. Spirit, curse. Something older. But I know it only finds you once you take that detour. And once you do, it never forgets. If you ever see a detour sign off the Blue Ridge Parkway marked Route 19B, don't take it. Don't even look at it. Because I made that mistake. And now I'm part of the hollow. Forever.